Good morning. And welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod.
Hello, my friend.
Hello.
I missed you last night at the premiere of Poe at Paramount Studios.
Yeah, I heard a bunch of you went and that
We
you had
did.
a really good time.
It was sold out. It was great. There were so many
it.
people there. Everybody was asking about you. You had a parent-teacher conference.
Well, I host, CARD has a PTA, but it's not a PTA. It's for parents that are truly amazing. It's just CARD parents, and it's a monthly call that I host with just CARD parents.
Which is so great of you to do.
Well, it's my pleasure, and that's a commitment that I make to them. And so when I found out about it, I was like, I cannot do the first Tuesday of the month. I'm busy. But I got to see the movie beforehand.
I know you did.
And what'd you think?
I was deeply moved.
Yes.
I thought Julian Fetter, the young actor who plays Poe, and I spoke to him after the screening, is nothing short. I agree with John Asher, the director, nothing short of astounding. This young man's performance, if whether you are in the world of autism or what, which would be hard not to today with the numbers, know somebody,
which we're
going to talk about. But his performance is so remarkable. I mean, we were kind of comparing it to a young Leo DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and it's just a stunning performance.
Isn't it?
And he's going places, and I spoke to him after, and he was just wonderful. John Asher, who we had on the show last week, was glowing, and I met his mom, Joyce, who played Murray's wife on Mary Tyler Moore. She's so beautiful still. Oh my God!
Yeah.
And we've got a couple of pictures. I went with Frank and Marcia Hines, Marcia of the book I Know You're In There, who recovered her son, and there I am with my boyfriend Ed Asner, and there's Marcia, and there's Frank, her wonderful husband, and that's Ryan, who is now an aerospace engineer, who Marcia details in her book, I Know You're In There, his recovery from autism. And let's see, I think we have maybe another picture or two, Kelby. There's me and my boyfriend. I just love that man.
Was he telling you had spunk?
He said he's got spunk, and he copped a few feels when he put his arms around me. He always does. And there's Matt Asner, of course, and Marcia Hines. And there's the guy who is the voice of Donald Duck.
Wow.
I wish I knew it. I mean, I was so excited to meet him. So we just had a grand old time, and it was emotional. I just have to say, I'm sorry, something just came over me. This community of autism parents is the most incredible community, and I'm so privileged to be a part of it. And the amount of people that came up to me last night, some who I don't even know, who know me through either Act Today or through this show, and have offered their admiration, love, and support since I lost my husband 2 months ago, and they're caring about Wyatt. And of course, this movie, Poe, has that as a central theme. The father in the movie loses his wife to cancer, and Poe has some regressions, and it was a very obviously personal experience for me.
And the director, when he was here, he wanted you to come so badly, but he wanted to make sure that you were going to be with people because he said, I think it's going to hit you hard.
Marcia held my hand and had plenty of tissue. Yeah. And the people that came up to me and embraced me, and even my darling Ed Asner, who I love so much, said, I heard you lost your husband, and he said, you're such a remarkable woman, and it just meant so much to me. So thank you all for your support, and I hope Poe gets out there.
Yes.
Because it needs to be seen.
It's a beautiful film, beautiful performances, lots of surprises. Now you know what I mean about being layered. Lots of surprises. We promised we wouldn't give any of them away.
Right.
But yes.
Okay.
Great.
So let's get to in the news. We were talking about the numbers because last night John got up at the premiere and said, how many people here have either a child with autism, have a relative with autism, or know somebody with autism? Every single hand in the audience went up. Every single hand. Yeah. Hundreds and hundreds of people. So, Shannon, the new numbers.
And this is the first time that we're able to cover this, but last Thursday, very quietly, the CDC published their new numbers for autism prevalence. Now, there are lots of different numbers out there, but these are the ones that we track closely, not because they're perfect numbers, but because we can compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges. These numbers, I want everybody to be aware of what they are. These are the numbers for 2012. We get these every 4 years. We get it every 2 years, but it's 4 years behind. It's looking at 8-year-olds in 11 different areas of the United States. So this would be children who were born in 2003 or 2004, and they just take, they look and go, they look in 2 different places, both medically and at schools, to see how many kids, and then they come up with a number that says this is what the prevalence of autism it is. Now, you recall that in 1974 it was 1 in 5,000.
Right.
And then that number went to 1 in 2,500, which went to 1 in 1,000. Then suddenly it dipped to 1 in 500. In the year that my son was diagnosed in 2003, it was at 1 in 110. Then it went to 1 in 88. And then 2 years ago, it was 1 in 68. And this year, for the first time, they have said that it remained the same, but there is an asterisk after that remained the same. It's 1 in 68. They said about, if you read the actual report that they put out, they say it's about 1 in 68. And they say that they cannot confirm that the amount of autism has stayed steady because in the 11 areas that they sample, in 2 of them, the prevalence went up so substantially that it is breathtaking. In fact, that in New Jersey, I believe the number, I don't know that we have it right here, but it's in the 40s and the low 40s in New Jersey. And in one other place,
Maryland, right.
It also is
1 in 55.
1 in 55. So the asterisk here is that something is happening, but we don't know what. And it really behooves us to take a look at these numbers and figure out why.
It's interesting
this is not
because
to celebrate.
Right. Matt Asner spoke last night after John Asher, the director, who is the father of Evan. Jenny McCarthy is Evan's mother. And Matt got up and said, you know, I am the father of a child with autism, the brother of someone with autism, and back at the time my brother was diagnosed, it was 1 in 10,000. And these numbers are, and now it's 1 in 46, right? 1 in 68, sorry.
Well, 1 in 46 boys.
1 in 46 boys. So that was such a stunning statement. And, you know, we all just, we're just like shaking our heads like, you know, we're part of this tribe and we're part of this family and we want to affect change and the change is too slow and we want answers. So, and then the other stunning moment for me in the film was the names at the end when all the children's names come up, that because everybody involved with this film, aside from Julian Fetter, the main actor, and he now knows someone with autism because he studied kids with autism. But every single person involved in the film has a child on the spectrum.
Yes, a lot of autism dads in particular.
A lot of dads, yeah. So, you know, these are continue to be really disturbing numbers and not surprising, I think, to those of us in the community.
But I think, for me, the takeaway is if you're not asking questions, if this isn't making you go, about, okay, so if the numbers have stabilized in some places, why? What happened in 2003 and 2004 that stabilized those numbers? What didn't happen in New Jersey and Maryland that didn't stabilize those numbers? What is continuing to happen in New Jersey that's making those numbers?
And are there any clues to that, or is there someone we could have on?
I think there's a lot of clues to that, but, you know, people just need to ask, what's happening?
Okay. Is there somebody that could come on and address that, perhaps?
I'd be happy to have Chris Christie come on and talk about what might be happening in the state of New Jersey.
Yes, I'd be happy to have Bruce Springsteen do a concert to raise funds for kids in New Jersey that need a grant.
Bruce, you are the boss.
Or Bon Jovi, but I'm sorry, Bruce is up here.
How about both of them together?
Together, okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you want to do next here? Apple's intensely moving film about the teen with autism. Everybody's talking about it.
Everybody's talking about it. It's a lovely little film that if you go on Facebook, you're going to get an opportunity to see it, about a nonverbal teenager What's interesting to me was that I didn't realize until I got to the end of the movie that this is a teenager that's known to us because we did a story on him. I think it was not last summer, but the summer before, when he was the valedictorian of his class, nonverbal, but did it from his iPad.
Amazing.
We did a story, and I actually had an opportunity to talk to his mom at that time. We didn't have them on the show, although we invited them on the show. They wanted to work it out, but he was very busy because he's, a busy young man. But it's a beautiful film.
It is.
And we really appreciate that Apple took the time to showcase that technology has the ability to do many things, and one of the many things that it can do is give a voice to some people that previously were overlooked. And I love what the mom says about just because you can't say anything doesn't mean that you don't have something to say.
Exactly. And it is beautiful. I would like to add that we do have a program at Act Today, Technology Today. We do not get any discounts from Apple. I salute them for making this film. I would really appreciate it if they would give us a discount on iPads.
Because that's what your iPads don't go to anything else other than to children who have communication deficits.
That's correct. And we get no discount, none, nothing.
Hello, Apple. Lovely opportunity. More children to videotape.
Yeah, and I'm sure the film costs money to make, and it's reaching a lot of people, and that's great because more people are buying iPads because of it. Let's get some discounts for our kids that we can't fund because we've got so many waiting for iPads.
And it was supposed to be in our packet. It's not, but both you and I watched, as someone that you know quite well, Matt Lauer, Nancy's ex-husband. All right, I've said it.
Okay, you said it. I don't want to be known as, I said to John Asher, do you hate being known as Jenny McCarthy's ex? And I said, because I happen to have been married to a famous person. And he said, it didn't really bother me. And I remember once saying to Matt, if I hear one more person say, when they hear I was married to Matt, you were married to Matt Lauer? And I'm like, what am I, chopped liver? And he goes, no, I think they mean the opposite, like you were married to him. Anyway, we're very good friends, and I adore Matt.
And I'm a big fan of Matt Lauer. He had Bob Wright.
Yes, he did.
On the Today Show last week, and we haven't been here since then. And Bob Wright, who he and his wife started Autism Speaks after his grandson
Suzanne Wright
was diagnosed. And he has a book out right now called The Right Stuff. And Matt was interviewing him. And in light of all the controversy happening at the Tribeca Film Festival
about Vaxxed, which our own Dr. Doreen Grant-Bichet is prominently featured in.
She is in the trailer from it, giving information about the prevalence of autism. And Matt asked the question, is the vaccine controversy ever going to be over? And I thought it was incredibly eloquent that Bob Wright said it will never be over as long as vaccines are one size fits all and people are not. I thought that was pretty eloquent.
I thought it was eloquent. I thought it was brave.
Oh, yeah.
Very brave, and hats off to Mr. Wright. And once again, our best to Suzanne, his wife, former First Lady of NBC, who I got to know in my TV days, and then founded Autism Speaks. She is battling pancreatic cancer. We love you, Suzanne.
Yes,
we wish you the best.
Thank you so much for everything that you do. Okay, one last story, and then we got to get our guests in because we got two amazing guests, and Kelby's about to kill us. But I saw this morning, breaking news in Brooklyn, a paraprofessional.
I've never heard it called paraprofessional.
Well, that's what they call aides a lot.
Okay.
They call them the paraprofessionals.
Okay.
That's how they refer to them in the IEP meetings.
Okay.
Well, the para, they'll say, we'll take care of this, that, or the other thing.
Right.
A paraprofessional with, I believe he was an 11-year-old on the autism spectrum. They have video of them. I've seen the video. We're not going to show it here because I just don't believe in, but I will tell you that you can see in the video that the kid is sitting at the lunch table.
11-year-old boy.
There are two adults standing behind him, a woman who works for the school and the paraprofessional who's a man in his 40s or 50s, big guy. He's talking to the young boy on the spectrum, and the boy suddenly, with absolutely no tell before, reaches up as if to punch the para, right? And this is a very real thing. The paraprofessionals should be appropriately trained.
Knowing how to block, and ignore those behaviors.
But that is important that they get trained to do it. And I can't tell from the angle that whether the kid connects with the para, but the para with absolutely no, instantaneously full-on POW, as they describe it, the school district described it, punches the kid in the eye. He had to go to the emergency room, black and blue.
Anatoly Veltman and the father, Anatoly Sr., shared what his son looked like in the ER shortly after the punch was thrown. I saw a huge blue bruise above his eye. It was clear to me that he was punched with force, and somebody tells me then that it was in fact the paraprofessional assigned to children's safety. His reaction, asked what his reaction, he simply said, I wouldn't believe it.
But it's on video.
But it's true.
You can see it online.
So it's there.
The guy did plead guilty to a misdemeanor assault last spring. They're saying that they're getting information about the civil matter. But unbelievable.
What I want to know is,
say, everybody that has a paraprofessional, that's a parent out there, the one thing that you can do is ask, what training have they had? Have they had training? You know, in case my child reaches out to hit them, have they got training to block themselves? And if they don't, I tell you, there is a beautiful training on ibehavioraltraining.com. I think it costs $7. Get it for yourself as a parent to know how to block, and buy that for your paraprofessional. Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up. If your school's not going to do it, you do it.
I'll do that. I need to get it for my aides because
and it's great. I've seen the training. It's like, oh my gosh, why haven't we all had this training?
What is that information again for our parents?
ibehavioraltraining.com, and they have tons of videos on tons of different things, but about dealing with aggressive behavior, how to block it.
Okay. Very good.
What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, where are they getting these people that they're hiring when there's so many people out there looking for work that want to help our kids?
Right, but you got to train them too.
Of course you do.
Once you hire them, you have to train them.
Of course.
You can't expect people
to go in
and be punched. It isn't hard.
You know, you mentioned a perfect way that these aides can be trained, and it's unconscionable.
Yes.
That's my new favorite word, unconscionable.
Love it.
That
Love it.
people are not getting the training.
It is unconscionable. All right.
So
we've got great guests for you. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Robin Hogerhuis is going to be with us.
For our Autism Family Portrait.
Yeah, a mom of 2 boys on the spectrum, and we love her. She's been on the show before. She's very involved with Fullerton Cares, and she now works for Skills because we saw her on the show and we loved her so much we introduced her to them. Anyway, so she's going to be with us and talk about her journey. And then a little bit later, we have Ron Sandison talking about autism and faith. So stick with us.
We're back.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. During the break, we welcomed Robin Hogerhuis. Am I saying it right?
Hogerhuis.
Hogerhuis. I thought I needed to get that liquidy U in there. Robin Hogerhuis, and I should, because I'm one of your biggest fans. I was saying before that you are just a remarkable person. We've had you on the show 2 times before for different things. I did not know until we were having you on this time that how you had begun was as a long-term substitute teacher for Orange County Department of Education in their special day classes. I know you to be a person in this field who is moving and shaking. When you came on the first time, we talked with you because you're on the board of Fullerton Cares, and you were talking about some of the amazing work that you're doing down in Fullerton and getting kids, training kids to be the person in a dance class and in a movement class, to be the person who's helping that child to be included. That's just, and your book, you have to write a book about that, Robin.
I'd like to, I really like to.
You really do. So we had you on then, and I was so impressed with you. Like the whole time you were talking, I was like, this woman is amazing. I want her to stay here forever. And afterwards I said, I want to introduce you to people around here and the offices around here. I took you in to meet the folks at Skills, and they hired you.
And tell us what you're doing now at Skills, Robin.
So at Skills, I'm the implementation support specialist, and I do training webinars, and I travel the country working with teachers and therapists, teaching them how to create treatment plans for children with autism. I also have several parents that utilize the Skills system in areas where they can't get services, for example, internationally or in rural areas, and I provide parent consult to parents implementing Skills in the home so that they can maximize their progress with Skills, and it's an amazing job.
Well, we're so lucky to have you here.
No kidding.
But you're here today as part of our Autism Family Portrait series because you are the mom of 2 affected boys. Tell us about your kids.
Okay, well, I am a mom, like you said, of 2 kids on the spectrum. It's interesting because I have both ends of the autism spectrum in my home, so I've kind of had both experiences as an autism mom. My oldest son's name is Ian. He's 11. severely affected by his autism and mildly affected by cerebral palsy, which kind of adds some issues to the autism. That being said, he is extraordinary. And
picture up there. Look at those boys.
And he has made a tremendous amount of progress, primarily through applied behavior analysis. And then I have my youngest son, Harlan. He'll be 7 in June. He made it perfectly clear I was not allowed to say he was 6. He was yesterday was April 5th, and he told me I am exactly 2 months away from my 7th birthday.
Okay.
Said, okay.
He's counting the days.
That's
when you want to get older.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. So he's very excited about his birthday. He is more mildly affected by his autism and now considered indistinguishable from his peers.
What do you attribute that to, Robin?
Again, applied behavior analysis. My stories with my boys are a little bit different. My oldest son, who's more severe, he did not reach his developmental milestones on time. And so I have that classic story of an autism mom circa 2007 fighting with the doctors and saying, but my baby's never uttered a sound. Right, he's got autism. I know what I'm talking about.
Did you get he's a boy?
He's a boy. He'll talk late. Come and check in with us when he turns 3. That sort of thing. Gosh. So I had a classic experience. He did not experience a regression. He just never made his developmental milestones. Right. My youngest, knowing everything that we knew about autism from literally the 3 months into his life, was enrolled in a study at UCLA that the Signan Research Lab was conducting to kind of get an idea about the genetic link. They wanted to look at infant siblings of children who had already been diagnosed to determine how many of those babies would be diagnosed. Mm-hmm. So he was very closely watched. Also, because of my training, we had been implementing a home program. Mm-hmm. With the help of my son's then therapist, Megan.
So you were really on top of this. You had the red flags with your first son, mm-hmm. and you made a decision that you were going to monitor your youngest son mm-hmm. very, very carefully and do everything you could intervention-wise. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we had a really good therapist and supervisor at the time. Megan was the therapist, Stephanie was the supervisor, and mm-hmm. I'll never forget them. They helped me put together a home program because, of course, you can't get services for a baby that you only suspect might get diagnosed someday. Right. But I felt services need to be in place. So I had my previous training, and I was currently getting my master's degree in applied behavior analysis. And so I was using the tools that I had and the support that they were giving me to implement a home program. So he was always in a home program, and he was always being very closely monitored at UCLA, either every 3 months or every 6 months. And he was actually, and I probably should have brought it, but I actually have him on video at 3 months old repeating hi, and so things like his language started developing very early. Mm-hmm. And we were very closely monitoring him. And sure enough, just after his 2nd birthday, he got a ton of back-to-back viral illnesses. Hand, foot, and mouth, roseola, all of those like nasty things that little ones get. Yeah. But he got them, maybe he would be sick for 2 weeks, well for a week, mm-hmm. and sick for 2 weeks again, and it was back-to-back. During this time, he started experiencing regression, and first it was behavioral, and so we thought, well, he's sick, so that's why he's acting out, or the terrible twos are emerging. And then some really funny things started happening with his language. Mm-hmm. He was an early talker, he was an early singer, and as a mom who loves music and going through what I went through with my oldest, who's mostly nonverbal, it was a dream that I had to hear a child sing, my child sing.
And that was now
he sang and he stopped singing, and he started doing some really funny things with language, pronoun reversal, and things like that. So I immediately called UCLA.
Can I just ask you, what emotionally was that like for you?
So it was heart-wrenching because when I got pregnant with him, I approached my pregnancy as in, okay, so baby with autism is going to be born. In other words, I told myself, I approached it as, okay, let's get out in front of this. We have this. We know the genetic link. And every 6 months, I would get a report from UCLA saying no signs of autism, no signs of autism. And as soon as I let myself believe we weren't going to go through it again,
there you were.
He got diagnosed. And so it was heartbreaking. And then because I was experiencing regression with him, whereas with my older son, the diagnosis was almost a relief because it's like, okay, I knew it, now we can get help. My little one, because I was experiencing regression, I was doing things like waking him up in the middle of the night when he slept and saying, say mommy, say hi, because I thought he would lose his voice completely. Right. And I just was terrified. I didn't know what life was going to look like for him. And for like 6 months there, I had this hope of maybe we won't go through this again. And it was just that little time period that I let myself think that. And then, of course, I got the bomb dropped on me.
Yeah.
And there was no denying it. I mean, fast forward now, he's indistinguishable. And so people tell me, are you sure? Are you sure? And I say, yes, I'm sure,
So tell us, for our viewers, what then were the steps that you took, some of the concrete steps once you got the diagnosis and you knew, in fact, that this was real?
So the first thing I did was take him to UCLA because they had been studying him. They confirmed what I had feared. I immediately went to his pediatrician. And of course, this was now 2011. A whole lot had changed between 2007 and 2011. So his healthcare provider was much more on top of assessing and having a plan for that. They assessed him. They confirmed what I had seen.
And he was how old at that point?
He was about 2 years and 3 months old.
Okay.
So you're still on that early window.
We are. So he, they confirmed the diagnosis. I immediately moved on getting him regional center treatment that they provide for children before 3.
Right. Early start program.
Early start program. And he immediately, as luck would have it, was able to begin therapy with my son's therapist. So it was a therapist that had been in our home, someone he knew, and she was absolutely extraordinary.
So in that way, you benefited from having a child that came before.
I did, and so I continued my home program, and then he began receiving direct services. And then when he turned 3, we had a very good experience in the Fullerton School District at Rolling Hills. Miss Debbie, an amazing preschool teacher in an autism-specific classroom that had reverse mainstreaming. So this preschool program had 4 typically developing 4-year-olds in the preschool class, and I just loved the program. And it was all done ABA style, which I very much credit applied behavior analysis. Once he turned 3, he didn't qualify for regional center funding, and our insurance company co-pays were outrageous. So instead of furthering my career in the field of autism, I stayed home a little bit extra so that I could continue the home program with him. Because I thought, do I go help kids with autism, or do I help kids with autism at my house?
Right.
And so, of course, my own had to come first for then. But like I said, my son, he's now indistinguishable from his peers. He's been in a mainstream class since kindergarten. So he went from his autism preschool into a mainstream class. He's absolutely social, has friends, very motivated to play with his friends. He's very appropriate. He needs a little help in certain academic areas, and he takes it in stride, and he's very successful. Very successful.
Shannon, I don't know how we're doing on time, honey.
We don't have much more time.
Okay,
I just want to say one thing about how ironic and a wonderful way it is to me that when Skills first came out, I was thinking, this is amazing for the parent who has nothing else. And a lot of people said, oh, a parent isn't going to be able to do this. This isn't going to be appropriate for a parent. Parents can't do a home program. Parents aren't going to be able to do, X, Y, and Z. And they saw how many parents will, because you do what you have to do.
Right.
And here you are. I can't think of anybody better working for Skills and helping parents than somebody who was doing it. And you know what it was like doing it without Skills, and now you can help parents to do it easier with Skills. I just think it's an amazing world.
You're a testament to the power of a parent doing a home program and how beneficial that can be for a child. Tell us a little bit now. Harlan's your younger one,
yes,
and Ian's your older one.
Ian is my oldest.
How do the boys interact with each other, and how do they help each other, and what do you see as some of the positive aspects of the relationship?
So watching my boys interact together is really, really a beautiful thing. I think Harlan made it to almost 5 years old before he asked me, why can't Ian talk? What's going on for Ian? Because he didn't know there was anything different or wrong with his brother. They love each other. Ian has a really hard time talking. Yes, they go on their hikes, and they're just very, very loving little boys. They really do get along, and they make up for not being able to talk to each other. They'll wrestle in the ways boys do, and they just have a lot of fun. Yeah, Ian will push Harlan on the swings. They go bowling. They really interact with each other, and it's very heartwarming. Of course, we've never told Harlan, oh, you're going to have to take care of your brother someday or something like that. But recently Harlan has been talking about, someday Ian's going to come and live at my house. And he told me the other day, hey Mom, I want Ian to come and live at my house, but I'm going to have to take the Nintendo Wii and maybe the bunk bed.
He's got his priorities straight. I love that.
Because he knew he needed that for his brother, and so it's very, very heartwarming to see that bond. They love each other very much, and it's one of the reasons I can sleep at night is that they're bonded together like that.
Do we have time to hear Robin's most important advice to an autism parent?
Yes, we have.
What's your most important advice to our viewers and to other autism parents?
So my most important advice to an autism parent is not to compare your child to another child with autism or not.
Amen.
And never to compare yourself to another parent, either an autism parent or a parent of a child that's typically developing. We're all going through different struggles. We're all going through things that people can't see. I myself am guilty of the fact that, my oldest son, although he has made huge, huge strides, especially behaviorally, we dealt with a lot of maladaptive behaviors that are now decreased despite his severity. Behavior analysis really works. We worked through a lot of those struggles, but at the end of the day, my son is very challenged. He's almost nonverbal. He's 11, and I'm looking at him, and he's made a ton of progress, but he's always going to need someone to watch after him, and that worries me. And so my most important advice to an autism mom is measure your child's progress against themselves. If I look at where my son was 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, if you would have told me that I had a job where I traveled the country and had to leave them for a few days, I would have laughed at you. And now, of course, I can't leave and travel without the support of their dad, who takes amazing care of them. He's who took a lot of those pictures. A lot of those pictures were sent to me while I was traveling, so that I could see what they were doing. And also my mom, who, happy birthday, Mommy. She's in Israel.
Birthday, Mom.
She's in Israel right now, but today's her birthday, and without her and also their other grandmother, Chris, definitely is a group effort to watch my kids while I'm gone. But that being said, I would have never thought that I could even go to the supermarket alone, let alone across the country, to do a really amazing job. And so I want to tell you that behavior analysis works. Measure your child's progress against himself, not against others. And like I said, I had been guilty of looking at other children with autism who seemed to be making more progress than my son and saying, well, why? We're doing everything. Is there something I'm doing wrong? You cannot compare your experience to another autism parent's experience. You just can't do it.
We each have our own path to walk, don't we?
That's right. So when you want to see how far you've come, think about the progress you've made in dealing with the grief, and think about the progress as autism moms that we've all made. And I think we were kind of talking about this on the break. Yeah. We know the system.
Yes, we do.
Don't mess with an autism mom.
Right. And so think of the progress.
A plan.
Think of the progress that we've made, and then think of the progress your kiddos have made. Think about where your children were when you got the diagnosis. Think about where your children were even a year or 2 years ago. And the progress is huge. And when you think about that, and you think about, yes, these treatments in applied behavior analysis work, there's hope, there's light at the end of our tunnel. When you think about those things, it makes the experience easier to deal with.
Sure does. Thank you for such an important lesson, Robin, and thank you for coming on today. I know our parents at home are so inspired by you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor, and I'm big fans of yours as well, both of you.
We're huge fans of yours. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, it's going to be with Ron Sandison, an amazing
really
gentleman,
inspiring gentleman on the spectrum.
And then, and we are going to run a little bit over because we're just going to run a little bit over. Yeah. But I will be here, and I don't know if you're able to stay to say goodbye at the end. Okay. All right. So here's a break first, and then Ron Sandison. Stick with us.
Hi, and welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We have a very distinguished guest today who we've been tracking down for quite a while to try to get him on the show. Ron Sandison. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning.
Where are you coming to? Where are you coming to from today? Michigan?
Rochester Hills, Michigan. I went to the same high school as Madonna.
Okay, well that's a claim to fame, right?
It is.
Well, Ron, I'm going to just say a few things that you've done here because your accomplishments are very extensive. You work full-time in the medical field. You're a professor of theology at Destiny School of Ministry. You're advisory board member of the Autism Society Faith Initiative of Autism Society of America. You have a Master of Divinity from Oral Roberts University. And your book, A Parent's Guide to Autism, Practical Advice, Biblical Wisdom, just came out yesterday. Is that correct?
That's correct, yep. I got a copy right here.
I cannot wait to read this book. You have memorized over 10,000 scriptures. Now I know the guy to call when I'm looking for one of those, including 22 books of the New Testament and over 5,000 quotes. You have been published extensively, Ron. Autism Speaks, Autism Society of America, Autism File. I mean, it goes on. And you speak at conferences, centers, churches, and Shannon and I both want to say congratulations,
Yes,
right, Shannon?
Absolutely. Congratulations on your book.
And
we're
your
thrilled to-
baby girl.
Yes, and your baby girl. I didn't know where you were going with that.
Okay.
Yes, you're a new dad.
Yep.
A baby girl just 2 weeks old, so we really want to congratulate you on that.
You and your wife, Kristen.
And all of these things are really wonderful, and we're excited to have you on the show to talk about autism and faith. But we also need to mention that you yourself have an autism spectrum diagnosis. Is that correct?
Yep, I was diagnosed at age 7 as having autism. The school originally wanted to diagnose me emotionally impaired. My mom said it's not emotional, it's neurological. And if you can't tell me what's wrong with my son, I'll pay and have testing done. She paid to have testing done. Henry Ford Hospital declared in 1982 that indeed my disability was neurological and was autism.
And that was when you were 7 years old, Ron?
Between 7 and 8, and the experts at the time told my mom I'd never read beyond a 7th grade level, never have meaningful relationships, never excel in academics or at sports, and my mom was determined to prove all of them wrong.
Well, she did that, didn't she? It sounds like you had
did,
just
yep.
an amazing mother. Now let's talk about some of the methods your mother used to help you overcome some of your quirks and things that were, getting in the way of functioning.
I like to call it autism refined. And she was inspired by Proverbs 22:29. You see a man skilled in his labor? He was served before kings. He was not served before obscure men. And when I was diagnosed at age 7, between 7 and 8, the school wanted to put me in special education. And the special education in Oakland County at that time was archaic. Basically, they just babysat you. And my mom said to the special ed teachers in the department, if you put my son in this special education, the best he'll ever do is pump gas. The best he'll ever do is be a dishwasher. The best he'll ever be is a bagger. But my son has great gifts, and I'm going to refine his gifts, and I'm going to use those gifts, and he's going to be able to serve before kings and not obscure men doing those other professions.
Well,
she was determined to help me succeed.
Your mom is our kind of people, Ron. And we talk a lot on the show about how important it is to find what your child is interested in and use that as a way to help them gain access to the world. Now, I understand that you had a particular interest in prairie dogs. What did your mom do with, because that seems kind of, out there for me, but what did your mom do with that interest?
And I got Prairie Pup here, right here, today. What my mom did is she took my interest in prairie dogs and she used artwork. And by developing my ability with art, I was able to communicate. A lot of times with autism, we're visual learners. And I tell people when I speak before audience, I just got back from speaking in Jupiter, Florida at Ernie L's All for Autism conference. He had me as a keynote speaker, their director. And what I like to share is that I have more RAM space than everyone in the audience, except for maybe other people on the spectrum, but I have zero ability for phonetics. I can't learn anything phonetically. If I hear something, I'm not able to generalize it, I'm not able to process it, but if I see something, I'm able to remember it the rest of my life. I can remember things even when I was 1 year old. I'll tell a story, and my mom's like, how do you remember that? You were just a baby when that happened. But I'll still remember because my visual and my RAM space is so great where there's no phonetic ability.
That's interesting, just like Temple Grandin, thinking in pictures, right,
Just
Ron?
like Temple Grandin, I see everything in pictures.
Yes, and so does my son. Now, so your mom built on that interest in prairie dogs. You had a lot of sensory issues, you said, with smells and sounds. How did you deal with those?
What I like to do, I'll bring this illustration when I speak. Most people are like bottled water. They get shaken up. They may let off a little steam, but not much is happening. I'm more like this, Mountain Dew. I get shaken up, I'm carbonated. You open up the dew, and then you got a can of whip. And I also call my meltdowns my honey badger moments. So when I go and speak, I bring my honey badger and I bring my prairie dog. With me, my sensory issues had to do with sound. If you're using power tools, it'd make me be on edge. Or if there was certain smells like bleach. If my mom used bleach, a week after she used it, I could still smell it. With my wife, she has to use her nail polish when on the days that I'm on the weekends that I'm working, so that I don't smell it when I get home. And she has to do it outside on the porch, because otherwise I'm going to smell that nail polish. And just 2 weeks ago, I was over at my parents' house, and I had a popsicle because they have my niece and nephews were over there. And when I ate a popsicle, I had this bad taste in my mouth, and I said, it tastes like salmon. My parents said, well, 2 weeks ago in the refrigerator, we had some salmon in there, but it's been gone for 2 weeks. But even after 2 weeks, even a box of popsicles that never touched the salmon or never were even in there during the same time, I can still taste the salmon. That's how good my sensory issues work.
Wow.
And as a kid, that popsicle, I would have had a meltdown. But now as an adult, I'm able to process it and able to deal with it in such a way that I don't have a honey badger moment.
But I'm really curious, Ron, about how your mom, you said, taught you to control your emotions and overcome your meltdowns. What were some of those coping mechanisms?
One was exposure. You've seen the TV show that they had. It was based on the psychology of exposure, where someone's afraid of snakes and they take non-poisonous snakes and they throw them in a pit with snakes. But what she did is she did it slowly over time. So things that I were paranoid about or things that gave me a lot of anxiety, she'd reward me with things I like. Maybe a stuffed animal of a squirrel or a stuffed animal of a bear, and then slowly expose me to those things I didn't like loud sounds. It started out with a slow sound where I'd have to approach and get the reward to be able to get the things that I wanted and be able to be around the sensory issues. She also used art books, and right here is one of them, and I draw the pictures, and then I'd narrate them, and she'd write the words, and then when she'd write the words of my stories, then she'd go through them and point to the picture and say, this is what the word is for that. And I was able to memorize all the words quickly and was able to learn how to read based on her using art. She was an art teacher, and when she found out I was diagnosed on the spectrum, she quit her job as an art teacher, and I like the joke she became a Ron teacher, which was even harder than teaching art.
Is your mom still alive?
She's still alive, yeah.
I think we got to have your mom on the show. I
agree.
And she'd love to be on the show.
Okay, because this woman is a powerhouse, and I think she has so much to share. She was a real pioneer in helping you, Ron, to overcome some of the more crippling aspects of autism. Now, you also got involved in track and cross country, and that was a real breakthrough for you. Tell us a little bit about that.
With me, when I become interested in something, I become fully focused. And it started out, as I mentioned, with prairie dogs. And prairie pup, I carried him everywhere from kindergarten all the way till 6th grade. And what I like to joke is that in 6th grade, prairie pup became officially the first prairie dog expelled from public schools. And I like to say, thank God my special interest wasn't a honey badger, because if they would have expelled an angry, agitated beast like a honey badger, I don't think they would have been able to do it, the principals. So when prairie pup got expelled from public schools, my interest became baseball. I ate and breathed baseball. And coming into 8th grade, I was on the baseball team, the wrestling team, or not the baseball team, I was on the football team, the wrestling team to get in shape to be on the baseball team. Then came tryouts, and they announced who made the baseball team. And I'll never forget, I had tears rolling down my eyes because I was the second best baseball player trying out, and I was fully focused on baseball. And when I didn't make the team, I went to the coach and said, how come I didn't make the team? And he looked at me and said, son, you're the second best baseball player in this school, but what you don't realize is you're the fastest runner by far. You run track and cross country in middle school and in high school, you'll get full ride to college. That's how fast I believe you are. So I ran on the track team beginning in 8th grade and set 3 school records. Then coming in my junior year, I found out the real reason I didn't make the baseball team. Philip Yancey said, faith is believing in advance will only make sense in reverse. And coming in my junior year on the track team, we finished 12th in the state of Michigan for the 3,200 relay. And on the way back from the track meet, Nate Clay, our star anchor on our relay, said to Coach Bud, next year we'd be the fastest relay in the state of Michigan, but we won't have Ron on our relay team because it'll be past the age limit. And right then I heard the voice of God speak to my heart and said, I'll provide a way for you to run on the track team. You'll run next year. And I looked at Nate Clay and I looked at Coach Bud and I said, next year I'm going to be on that relay team. And Coach Bud looked at me and laughed and said, in the last 20 years there's been no one who's been able to compete past the age limit. The reason I was past the age limit is in kindergarten, I was held back due to lacking the social skills, due to lacking the communication skills from autism. And my mom contacted the Michigan High School Athletic Association and said, my son's past the age limit due to autism. And they said, we will not let your son compete on the track team. And they told my mom, in the last 20 years since we've made that rule, no one's competed past the age limit. And I told my mom, I'm going to run on the track team. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. My mom contacted every lawyer in the state of Michigan, calling everyone she could think of. And every lawyer said it'll cost you $40,000, which we couldn't afford. And I came back from a 5-mile run, which I did every day, and I got the newspaper. And there on the front page of the Detroit Free Press was a man named Craig Stanley. He was going to turn 19 years old his senior year of high school. And he was born May 1975, the same year and month I was born. He was a track and cross country runner like I was, and he was past the age limit. So my mom called his mom, our families got together, their family said we called every lawyer. My mom said, let me guess, they told you it'll be $40,000. And they said that's exactly what they said, $40,000 or more. And I looked at the Stanleys and I said, next year Craig and I are going to run on that track team. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And time was quickly coming for the season of cross country to begin. And during this time, I gave my life to Christ my junior year of high school, and it was on my heart to get water baptized. And my mom did one more article announcing it. Now there's 2 kids who are past the age limit, Craig and Ron, and I got baptized on a Sunday. When I came out of the water, Pastor Rob Fisk looked at me and he said, I know this Bible verse is for you, Joel 2:25. I repaid the years of the locust, the great locust, the young locust, the other locust swarms, my great army I sent among you. He said there was a great army of locusts that came into your life. It might have been a disability, it might have been something else, but today your blessing is going to begin. And I got home June 10th from getting water baptized, 1994, and the answering machine was blinking red. And when I pressed the button, it was a young lawyer named Rick Landell, and he said, I feel inspired to take your case. And I knew that the exact time he was calling was the time I was coming out of the water. It was the time I was getting the word from Rob Fisk, or Pastor Rob Fisk, that a blessing was coming in my life, and he said, I want to take your case pro bono. And then I found out the real reason I didn't make the baseball team. When I met with Rick Landell, I told him my story, but I never told him one important part of my story, that baseball was my sport. And as he walked us out to the parking lot, announcing he was taking our case, he looked at me and said, it's a good thing your sport wasn't baseball. And I turned white as a ghost. because I was thinking, how did he know that my special interest for a year and a half was baseball? And he said, because if your sport was baseball, I couldn't take your case. Because 4 years ago, and it was 4 years ago that I didn't make the baseball team, there was a young guy in Kentucky who sued under the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, to play baseball. And they said that since it was a contact sport, he couldn't play baseball. But track's not a contact sport, so you won't be watching from the stands, you'll be competing. And he took our case. We ran the second fastest time in the state of Michigan. My case went all the way to the Supreme Court in Cincinnati. And then it would have gone to the Supreme Court, but since I had already competed, I already set the records, it was decided to be mute.
Ron, this is just an astounding story. We're running short on time here. We got to go in a minute. I just want to say a couple of things. Your book, A Parent's Guide to Autism, your new book, Practical Advice, Biblical Wisdom. How do our viewers get that book, and how can they access, other things about you, where to hear you speak, all of these things?
And to get the Parent's Guide to Autism, Practical Advice, Biblical Wisdom, they can go on Amazon to get it. They can go to Barnes & Nobles. They can go to Christian Family bookstores. So it's a national publisher that I got, pick it up, Charisma House, which is the third biggest Christian publishing house out there. And they can get information on where I'm speaking and on my engagements if they go to SpectrumInclusion.com. Again, SpectrumInclusion.com is my website, and the reason I call it Spectrum Inclusion is because, like, I was given the ability to compete on the track team. I've been able to work in the medical field. My goal is to help mentor young adults with autism to be able to gain independence, gain employment, and be included. Even though they're part of the spectrum, they're included in every activity that neurotypical people are able to participate in.
Well, your story's remarkable. What's your mom's name?
My mom's name is Janet Sandison.
Janet Sandison.
Give her a hug from us.
Just
Thanks, I'll give her a hug.
And Ron, we hope many people will visit your website, SpectrumInclusion.com, to find out what more you're up to. Good luck with the book. I, for one, am getting it. I can't wait, and I know who to call when I'm looking for a scripture and I can't find it, okay?
Thanks so much. And I was going to say, too, I'd love to come out and speak to your church sometime. I'm speaking at over 20 churches in the next 3 months, and I also, in college, mentored and interned under Dr. Jack Van Impe, the international evangelist who also has over 10,000 Bible verses memorized too, like I do.
I would love to have you speak at my church, and let's stay in touch on that, because if you're coming out to California, we'll definitely get you, and we'll get a big crowd to come hear you.
Ron, thank you so much for being with us today, and give our best to your mom.
I'll give the best to my mom, and I'm sure she'd love to be on your show, too.
All right, well, we're going to have her on, so I'll be in
contact.
touch with you about that. Shannon and I will be in touch. Thank you so much, Ron. Have a great day.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be back with more Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy after these messages. And we're back.
We're back.
And
we're ending because we're
ending.
over.
We're completely out of time. So I want to thank you guys. We're back next week on Wednesday and Thursday. Great shows for you, but not even time to talk about that. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. As always, love being here with you, Shannon.
And we didn't get a chance to talk about the Autism Walk, so I promise that we're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Okay. And we also
we're here tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow you're here, and next week I think we're going to be focusing on our Active Day for Military Families event, Run, Walk Festival down in San Diego.
And can I say tomorrow we're having We Rock the Spectrum on. Dina Kimmel is going to be on with us tomorrow. And we have two people from Fullerton Cares. We're having Summer Dabbs and the fabulous Larry Hauser are going to be on the show tomorrow. Plus a lot more, and we're debuting the film with Nick Yates tomorrow, the short film that we did with him. So that's all happening tomorrow. We love you. Please give your kiddos a hug from me.
And yourselves a hug from me.
Bye-bye for now.